And we are live on air. So welcome to everyone that is live with us. I can see we have a bunch of people who are already live and on time. If you are, send us a little message on the chat function. Garret can't see it, but I will relay the information back to him. And I'm really excited to be. I don't know why Garret has taken us so long, because you were the first person that I really had any significant training with regards to the three principles. And as I was saying before we started, that it was, I'm glad that I had that grounding and that base in the principles from you. And it really stood me in good stead. So I don't know why it's taken us so long for us to record something for this group, but I'm glad we're doing it today.
Yeah, me too. It took you this long to get over me. That's what, to get over that.
I was saving it. Anyway. I was saving. Right. Well, we've got some people messaging us. Hi, Helen. She says hi, Garret and Ankush. We've got Henrik, who's joining us from Norway. Hi, Henrik. Vicky's saying hi. Niklas says hello, Garret and Ankush. So we've got a few people joining us and wishing us well.
Right.
The way I run these, and I think we spoke about this before, Garret, is I try and have a little conversation with the person that we've got online, and then space for questions. And I'm sure we'll get a bunch of questions. And I think having that interaction, I don't know how you feel, always makes it more fun. Rather than just us kind of talking amongst ourselves.
Right. No, sure. I think if anybody has questions, I just think it's super cool and important to just ask them. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. We got more people. Thomas is saying good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Elizabeth says hi. Steve says hello, fellas. So I'm impressed. Normally we have people very slowly joining us, but today we seem to have a bunch of people obviously very eager to listen to what I'm sure you have to say, Garret. They've heard me lots, and certainly excited to be on this webinar with us. But
it's funny you're speaking about time. When I back way long time ago, when I was coaching prep school hockey, we had I had to be like 28 years old or something like that, maybe 27, 26. I'm not even sure. And we had a transfer student in the middle of the year who came to our school. I think he was a junior in high school, so about 16 years old, 17 years old. Really a fine player. But we were on the road, and I called a meeting in my hotel room, much like this hotel room I'm in now. And so maybe I called the meeting for 7:00 at night, something like that. And like clockwork, everyone on the team showed up at 6:45, because that's pretty much protocol in sport. If you call a 7:00 meeting, you just you got to get there early. That's pretty much, it's just the normal thing, right? But this player showed up right on time at 7:00, and we had already started the meeting. So he walked in, and I said, I remember his name, Willie Zago. I remember his name. And I said, Willie. And I looked at my watch. I'm right on time. It's 7:00. I said, Willie, on time is 6:45 for a 7:00 meeting. And that was the start of Willie and my relationship. But he ended up being one of my better players for that year and a half. Great kid. Went on to play college hockey too. But so sportsmen are well known for punctuality.
Well, you really embodied that, because normally we have people struggling to get on, or maybe just a few minutes before we go live, and you were well on time today. So you're certainly embodying that too.
Okay.
So I think we'll just go in and get started. I think that we've got a whole bunch of people who are looking forward to hearing you speak. So just in case anyone doesn't know who you are, doesn't know anything about you, in your own words, could you give us a little bit of an introduction?
Well, I am a consultant, is what I would say. I run a consulting practice called Inner Sports in New Jersey, and it's pretty much what we do is we around the country and we work with athletes and teams and organizations about about state of mind, about the inside out nature of life. And yeah, that's what we do. On an individual basis, I do a lot of talks and workshops, and I enjoy traveling around and speaking to groups and stuff like that. So, and I write books sometimes also. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I do. My journey in this business um, just started by accident. I kind of had this life moment at around the age that I was just telling that story about, when I was in my late 20s. Um, and I kind of woke up to how the human mind worked, and how all of the professionals in coaching, mainly sports psychology and mental coaching, that I had visited as an athlete, um, really had it backwards. And I kind of woke up to that, and that set me off on a journey where I got to know Richard Carlson really well. And through Richard, I met Keith Blevins and the work of Sid Banks. And yeah, that's pretty much, my journey. And I didn't look in the direction of how the mind works and how the human experience is created with any intention of being a consultant. I was quite content to be a prep school hockey coach and work in the real estate business as I was doing at the time. But what happened was, my team started to really flourish, not only in their performance on the ice and winning some championships and stuff like that, but also in the community, in their school. And people started to take notice and kind of ask around, like, what shifted for this team? And what shifted for this team was their coach, was their leader. And slowly but surely, these kids were just thriving. And I started to people would seek me out for advice on what to do with their kid, or could you talk to my kid, and all this stuff. And got tired of doing that for free, so I started Intersports as a boutique sports psychology firm, and just started it. And I don't know, I think it was like 2.5 years later, I was out of the real estate business. And I've never looked back. So yeah, and here we are. So that's my story, buddy.
Cool. Thank you for that. And I should probably say kind of our involvement. I mentioned it a little bit, but I joined Jamie's Inner Circle program, as it was called, back in 2012. And I remember when I was signing up for it, I had this insight. I wanted to be a coach. I was so naive. I had no idea where this journey was going to take me. God, looking back then, I had no idea. And I just knew of Jamie. So I speak to him. I look around at doing a master's program and all this other stuff. And I'm leaning towards Jamie. And I remember Jamie saying to me, well, look, if you're going to sign up, I'd really encourage you to sign up sooner rather than later, because I've got this guy coming over from the US called Garret. And I really want you to, if you're going to be on the program, to meet him and have this training. And I'll be honest, I thought, oh yeah, here we go. Here's a sales push, right? He's just going to he's trying to push me to get signed up. But little did I know, I didn't know anything. And it was, I'm so glad that I did. And I'm so glad that I got a chance for us to spend some time together. And, I often tell people that, I spent the first day really disagreeing with you, going like, well, I've been in the personal development space for ages. What's this guy talking about? I don't think so. I remember asking a bunch of questions, and then I think it was like day 2 or something. I thought, you know what? Let me give myself a chance to learn something here, because if I'm just arguing, I'm not going to learn anything. And so that's really when things shifted and changed for me. And I got a huge amount out of that weekend, and like I said, really set me up in good stead. So I'm excited for people to, listen into this webinar, get a chance to listen to you. And one of the things that I love about you is, from very early on, you were really, really, I don't know if confident is the right word, but you were really sure about this. Like when you spoke, when you coached, and that was some of my first experience, because I was like, Garret, how do I coach? Here are some opportunities I've got. What should I do? And you were just really, really certain about this stuff. And that really spoke to me, and that surety really came across, not only for me, but then I kind of took that on when I was speaking to people around what I'm really sure about. And I think you've really carried that forward all this time.
Yeah, thanks. And to be honest, for and I think we've talked about this before, but for the group, it's not that I'm sure about myself. I'm sure about the direction. So I have massive insecurities around whether I'm good enough to really bring this understanding forward. I mean, some of the time I think I've got it. And then, of course, as soon as you think you've got it, the insecurities come flooding back. But to be clear, buddy, I'm not. The way I teach and how I present this direction, that has always has a massive room for improvement. However, what we teach, that can't be improved. So yeah, I just think it's important for everybody to know that, like, it's the direction that's the superstar. It's not the presenter. And yeah, so I may have appeared super certain, but that's because the direction is just pure truth. And however, as a teacher, as a coach, as a consultant, as a speaker, I experience massive insecurities about my ability to do it. But it's interesting knowing the direction that I'm looking in. For some reason, in spite of those insecurities, I feel comforted. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's really how I see it. So I have a presentation tomorrow, and I'm okay now, but who knows what's going to show up tomorrow morning. But I know either way, whether I'm just feeling super insecure or I'm okay, I'm good to go, so to speak. Well, I'm going to be good to go either way, but I think you know what I mean. The direction that I'm pointing the audience to will totally has the power to carry me through. And that is just, again, super comforting as a presenter, as a teacher.
Yeah, that totally aligns with my own experience, and I don't know where I got this from or why, but yeah, that's exactly the same. I remember I spoke in Las Vegas a few years ago, and I spoke over 2 days. And I remember the first day when I spoke, it was to a personal development conference, and I got a bunch of clients out of it. But I was so insecure. I mean, like, constantly, and all I could do was like, okay, I'm not speaking right now. Maybe this will clear. Maybe it won't. There's nothing for me to do about it. And I remember even as I started speaking, I was really insecure. But 5 minutes in, I forgot about it. But I'm so glad that I didn't get caught up in that. And I remember actually another time, this lady messaged me and said, "Oh, I love what you're doing. I wish I was as confident as you."
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, I'm not. You've got it wrong. It's got nothing to do with confidence." I get insecure all the time, and I just don't buy into it so much. And I think that's true of every single person, that there's no one that suddenly becomes fearless and suddenly drops all their insecurities.
Right. I mean, they're not connected. They're not connected to what we're doing in the moment. And I was talking to the person I was sitting next to on the plane on the way here today, and we were talking about that, and we were talking about confidence. And one of the things that I see in young people is this, and their coaches and their parents and their teachers, is that there's this constant push to up confidence, or to stress the importance of self-belief and self-security and confidence and all that stuff. And then when the kids, and we're talking about teenage kids or even college kids, when the kids then don't feel secure and they seek ways to become secure, we punish them. And it's this cycle around this self-belief illusion that is just really confounding the crap out of people. And I see this. Again, everyone's looking for a good feeling. And if you're supposed to be confident all the time, which is obviously not possible, not normal, then you're going to seek ways to get confident. And we see this in young people. Again, you got a coach who's really a strict coach. And this coach also stresses, you got to believe in yourself. I want confident players. And then when the players don't feel confident and they seek perhaps illicit means to cope and feel better, they get kicked off the team. It really is an insane cycle of pointing people in the complete wrong direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I love that, because it's also true of coaches, right? Like, I see this in the wider coaching world, this coaching industry, that you need to do all of this stuff. I didn't get this as a coach, but when I was in the personal development world, it's like you need to do your meditation in the morning, then you need to do your gratitude journal. You need to be confident in front of an audience. It's all this outside in misunderstanding, basically, that it doesn't work that way. And one of the things that I want to bring out in terms of this conversation, that certainly I got from you, but I know I'd be interested, because I don't know where this conversation is going to go, but it's cool anyway, that what I got from you when I started was I really knew very, very little about the three principles at the time. I mean, it was very new, 4.5 years ago. The pretty much only significant training I had was 3 days with you and Jamie. And there was nothing about you which was, okay, just wait, or you need to get more grounding or anything like that. It was just go and share what go and help someone, go and do it. And I got so much out of, I guess, a little bit of encouragement of just going out and trying things out. And yes, the first early coaching conversations I had, if I kind of listen into them now, I'd probably be like, no, do this, do it. There's loads to learn, of course, but I've learned so much through experiencing, and from that experience myself, I do encourage other coaches, other three principles based coaches, to, take some more action often, and not as a strategy to do that, but I find that I think sometimes as a community we can be very inward looking and listen to Sid Banks audios and books, which are all great. But also I think at a certain point we need to go, if we want to do this as a profession, go out and start talking to people, go out and start having conversations too. And I find that's often a missing piece.
Well, right. And I've learned a lot from Sid Banks, but to be honest with you, I don't think all his stuff is great. Sid was a human being like anyone else. So some of his stuff I think is really great. And this is how I see it. Doesn't mean I'm right. But I think it's one of the fallacies of the three principle world that Sid was perfect. I mean, Sid was a human being, and Sid made mistakes just like you and I make mistakes. So to me, there's some of Sid Banks' material that really I can listen or read over and over again. And there's some stuff that I have tried to listen and read over and over again, and maybe someday it will speak to me, but never happened. And I'm sure it's the same thing with my material and people also. As far as sharing is concerned, and people ask me this question all the time because they see me as someone who's relatively dogmatic about getting this as close to right as we can, although that's really a weird way to say it. But that's only in whether it's on social media or just in conversation. I encourage you, as you just said, to get out there and support the heck out of people, love people, be giving and caring, and be there for people. That to me is the ultimate. That's what we're all capable of. The rest of it will take care of itself. I think it's a valuable direction to look in, that human beings can only work this way, into out, not out to in. However, I learn a lot by listening to other people who do what I do for a living that are drastically outside in coaches. But I sit there and I listen to them, and they're human beings, and they're doing their best to support and help people. and there's value in what they're saying. Every human being is connected to truth. Every human being is the embodiment of truth. And that it's just support people, just help people. There's no right way or wrong way to support people. Now, if you want to talk about the inside out understanding, well, it's the inside out understanding. So there's really no wiggle room in that. But I discuss that with people behind the scenes. At the same time, I encourage them to go out and support people and work. My oldest son, for example, he's a college baseball coach. He was a really good college baseball player, and now he wants to get into coaching, and he has an aptitude for coaching for sure. And he also has a keen understanding. I mean, he's grown up in our house, and luckily, I don't know, he seems to kind of figured it out, on his way to figuring it out. But he does sometimes go drastically outside in. And I remind him to just go and be yourself. Go and be you. The last thing you want to do when you're working with someone, when you're coaching your team, is to worry if you're inside out, outside in, where am I, all that stuff. Just go be you and let the rest take care of itself. There's nothing else I have ever advised him to do as a coach other than be himself and go get them. And I would recommend the same to everyone who's on this call.
I love that, Garret. I'm so glad that you said that, because I so resonate and agree with you. I was around this understanding for a few years, and I had some clients, and I was also struggling, and I went out, and at first I was very unsure about it, but I went out and learned from other coaches. I've been doing that for the last 2 and a bit years. There's some stuff that is really outside in that I wouldn't touch with a barge pole, and I've done some weird and wacky stuff, tried it out, and it hasn't worked for me. And I've spent some time with some amazing coaches who aren't 3P based and really learn a lot from it. So I'm so glad that you said that. And I think, again, we can be, as a 3P world, a 3P community, whatever, we can be a little bit insular sometimes. And I like to kind of break that and go, well, what can I learn from whoever, as long as this helps me in my profession and helps me to help people. And the other thing that I love that you said there was really about this, just go and do it, basically. Don't worry. I found the same was for me. When I got so up in my head around, am I doing this right? What would Keith think? God, is Sid turning in his grave? Sometimes I'd be working with people and I would just run out of words, and I would just say, I know this is kind of not right, but this is the best thing that I've got right now. And it would help the client. And at the end of it, I'd say, well, I'm glad that I did that, because ultimately, if it's helping someone, that's all I care about. I'd rather help someone and not be 100% right than worry all the time about, am I saying this correctly, and not be helping anyone at all.
Right. Well, listen, I've talked about this recently. Maybe some people heard me say it. To me, if I look at the coaches, whether it's Keith or Sid or you or Jamie, and other coaches, whether it's a sport coach I work with or a preacher that I've connected with, a motivational speaker, whatever, the number one thing, well, I don't know about number one, but a major byproduct of connection, of understanding, is authenticity. And authenticity, no matter what words are coming out of your mouth, your audience, your students, your clients are going to relate to you being you. And that is vital. That it is. I'm telling you, I say this to every single person that works with me. I say it to audiences, and I'm going to say it now. To see you, let's just talk. Say you and I are just talking here, but if I watch a video of you speaking, or I sit in the audience and hear you speak, and if you sound like Sid Banks, Keith Blevins, and if I've taught you, you sound like me, there's a problem. There's a problem. It's up to you to just be you and go connect with people. And Yeah. And again, people are surprised sometimes to hear me say that because it seems like I'm so specific in how I teach the understanding. Well, that's true. I am super no wiggle room, no exceptions to the inside out paradigm. That is definitely true. I mean, by the way, I don't always get it right. That's my aim when I'm teaching it. It's very specific. There's no wiggle room. There's no exceptions to the fact that human beings work inside out. That is true. However, just by virtue of being a human being, being a thinking creature walking on this planet, you are going to buy in, so to speak, to the outside illusion. And you don't ever want to stand on guard for being a human being. The essence of being spiritual is being human. It's not one or the other, it's one and the same. So you can't reach people on a spiritual level by trying to be spiritual. You've got to be human. That is the essence of spirit in truth.
I love that. We've had some comments coming through as well. Helen's also said, "Love that. You're a vehicle for the truth." And she said, "Yeah, she tends to be so much in her head about doing 3P right, becoming a bit of an absolutist about it. So I'm sure this is helpful for her." Billy said, "Love the fact you point to the fact that Sid Banks was human. It's my experience too." And we've got a couple of questions. So Nicholas says, pleasure to listen to you, Garret. I saw a very interesting talk you did at the Innate Health Center. One thing I heard you say was there's no way you can get from A to B. And if I understood you correct, you were referring to the possibility of getting from one state of mind to another state of mind on will. It would be very interesting if you could elaborate on that statement.
Sure. And yeah, thanks. I didn't know that video came through. The Innate Health Center in London. Okay, cool. Right. I thought maybe it was the last conference. Well, can I elaborate on that? I don't know, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's just something that human beings, we're not capable of. Human beings have no ability to deliberately change our feeling state. It's a power that we just don't possess. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything else I can really say about that. I don't. That's just flat out fact.
Yeah. You know, I was talking to Dickon recently, and Dickon was saying, we joke about this, Dickon and I, that, you know, he said, can you imagine if we had the power to, he was saying it with other people, we can't change our own state, we can't change anyone else's state. And he said, can you imagine if we had the power to change someone else's state? I said, yeah, that'd be a really cool supervillain, right? Like, could go around like changing people how they feel. And you're right, we can't do it to ourselves. And what's so funny, because when you said that, I'm like, yeah, of course. And then I'm thinking back to how I used to think, and you know, before I came across this understanding, I probably would have disagreed with that. I probably gone, well, actually, I think there are things you can do, but you're absolutely right that there simply isn't. And the more that I've seen that, the better and easier life's gone.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, I can promise you, I don't know about this call, but when I get up in front of, let's say, an audience speaking at, you know, not people have no idea what three principles are inside out. And that comes out of me, which is a good chance in an hour and a half talk, that's going to happen. You can't imagine how many hands go up, and it's like, whoa, wait a second. You're telling me that meditation, the act of meditating makes me feel better all the time. Okay, running all the time. Yeah, all kinds of things. So yeah, there is this. That's we're stuck. We're stuck almost in this two-headed illusion as a race, the human race. One, that our feelings are connected to or the result of something on the outside. We're living in that misunderstanding. And we're living in the misunderstanding that we can fix our feelings. And that's I see it as our jobs, if that resonates with you, to clear up those misunderstandings. So that's really what my job is. And that's what I do for people. I clear up first and foremost, the outside in illusion to the best I can. And then this idea of control. Because the idea that we can control our feelings is actually the cause of every calamity known to mankind. That's it right there. The notion that a human being can do something to fix his or her feeling state is why we're in such a fix. Why the world is not the place we all like it to be. I'm not saying we could ever really get it to be, but that has caused every, as I said, calamity known to mankind. That misunderstanding right there.
And I think that's why it's so effective in the world of coaching for me, is because every time I sit down with a client, I mean, if you go into, other coaches, you go outside of 3Ps, you look at what coaches do, and the top coaches in the world, they'll sit down with a client, what do you want? And they'll go deeper. Why do you really want it? And what I found 99% of the time you ask that question, and if people don't understand this, it's a case of, I want this because it's going to make me feel a certain way, when you really, really get down to it. And so for me, what's so powerful is that having this understanding, we can go so deep with a client, and if they can turn that on its head, if they can see the truth, or they can see, the misunderstanding they've got around that, it changes everything. And it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's often holding you and me back when we have it misunderstanding. It's holding our clients back. And it's like I say to people, this is the deepest change work I've ever come across. And everything else is just like surface level stuff in comparison, because this is kind of the root cause really of everything else.
Right. No, yeah, no, I love what you said about it's not about finding a good feeling. I mean, this is not about happiness. In my mind, we're not on this earth to find happiness. I mean, it's not about being happy. That's got nothing to, in my mind, that's got nothing to do with the work I do with people. It's absolutely not even discussed. I mean, we're simply stripping away, you can call it outside in misunderstanding, getting closer to inner wisdom, and seeing where life takes us. It's, these discussions like, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? Well, look, I have people call me up and say, hey, Garret, I'm interested in working with you this year. Let's say it's a professional golfer or something. I'm interested in working with you this year. Are you willing to do that? I said, well, what's going on? Like, what's on your mind? And he says, well, I'd like, and 99% of the time he'll say, well, I want to win a major this year, or I want to make more money this year. And I say, I can't help you with that. and it's just, it's really an icebreaker in the discussion, which is fun, but it really is true. I mean, that's not what we do. That's not the work I do. I simply remind people where their feelings are coming from and see where that takes us. And that's it. That's it. And if a player, I had a basketball player, funny, I'll tell you a story. A basketball player called me last night, and he's actually a college player, and they didn't make the NCAA tournament, so their season's over, and they have their end of the year coaches meetings. I think his meeting is, what's today? I can't remember my day. Today's Wednesday, so his meeting's Friday. And he asked me my opinion about talking to the head coaches about the assistant coaches, because he thinks the assistant coaches really aren't up to snuff. They're not supportive. They don't care. They just don't have the players' backs. And he sees it as a real hindrance to the team's success, to progress. And now I happen to agree with him. He's not so far off in this comment. However, it's not important. And it's not my job to agree with him, because my job is to remind him that they have nothing to do with his feelings. They actually have very little to do with the team's success or failure. The head coach is a great guy. Number one assistant's a great guy. And this guy who's going to be one of the leaders on the team next year, he sees it. And I reminded him, his name is JR. I said, JR, you be the change. You set the tone. You rise above all this nonsense, and everyone will fall in line behind you. And he's like, wow, I didn't even think of that. I said, well, cool. Glad I could point you in the right direction. See you later. And then I said, love you. He said, love you back. Hung up the phone. And then I had another call right after that, but JR flooded through I started thinking about JR. And I sent him a text message where I said, Inside Out is 100%. There are no exceptions. That's all I said. And he sent me back a note. Thank you for reminding me of that. See you soon or something. So again, here was a top level player, probably going to be a pro. And it wasn't illogical what he was saying. It actually, there was some logic to the fact that these guys aren't quite on board with the program. And he's seeing it, which is pretty cool. But he's in no position as a student, as a player, to discuss that, in my opinion, with the coach. That's way out of his purview. And it was my job, as I saw it, to remind him, whoa, they're not making you feel this way. They're not making you play a certain way. Get back in line here, get them back in the right direction, so to speak. And I love you too, and we're off to the races. So that's an example of how I might. I don't even remember why I was telling that story, you guys, but that's an example of what I do on a daily basis with players.
Yeah, what I love about that is you didn't turn around and say, so remember how it works. It's inside out. This is what I like, and I find this is in my own coaching more and more. Is when I started out, I felt like I had to teach the principles, and to me, that's not coaching, that's teaching. What I find now is knowing what I know, I can talk to the client in a way that makes sense because I know what's going on behind it, and then along the way, we can do a bit of teaching too.
Sure.
But coaching is like, yeah, I love that story. It's about something very relevant to him where he is.
Right. Whatever comes out of my mouth. I mean, nothing should be off the table as you're working with people. I mean, nothing, 0%. It's going to flow through you and just go. Now, truth be told, I have worked with this team since the start of the season. So that was late summer. So he does have some depth, and this player especially, he's what they call the point guard in basketball. He's kind of the captain on the floor. He brings the ball up. He's a pretty small kid. Actually, an amazing story. And I'll just give you a little insight for you guys. Both this young man's parents are drug addicts. He didn't grow up in a great environment, and talk about getting it. The first time I spoke in front of this team, this kid followed me out of the building. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. And more so than the rest of it. So it's 20 players in a room. This kid, JR, followed me out of the building to my car. He couldn't stop. It wasn't even questions. He was just so blown away by how this thing worked. And he was so excited. I remember he followed me to my car. It was the greatest thing. Anyway, he actually lives relatively close to me. The school's in Connecticut, but he actually lives in New Jersey, and I'm going to have him over for dinner a week after next. So I'm when he's on break. So I'm looking forward to it. Just a great young man, and I think a future coach, which is going to be really cool.
So I'm going to try and get to another question because I'm aware of time. We could carry on talking for ages, but I want to get to people's questions. Henrik says, when I'm flowing from inside out, it's passion. When it's outside in, it's motivation. What's the difference between passion and to be motivated, Garret, or is it the same flow?
They're both. I don't want to get hung up in the words because you use those words. I wouldn't use those words, but that doesn't matter. Either it's all energy, and we don't control energy. So yeah, I wouldn't even get caught up in that direction with you, with a client. it's simply energy. Energy comes and energy goes. It builds and it falls away. It comes, it goes. We live in that energy. So that's all you got to know. Be there to work against you. So either way, it's God energy. It's powering the system. It's not a problem. It's normal. And there's one of those isn't better than the other. It's all energy, and this is an essential part, in my mind, of teaching this understanding. Just to remind people that whatever they're feeling, it cannot be abnormal and it cannot be a problem. It's energy, and that's it. So, yeah, I wouldn't, and it can't work against you. It's not working against you. And no matter what a person feels at any moment in time, his or her ability to love, serve, care is not diminished by any percentage. It's the exact same. It's the exact same. And one of the things that I take exception about to a certain degree, and it's just how I see it, it's okay, in teaching this understanding, is the notion that certain people see it better than others, or have deeper grounding than others, or something, or there's somewhere we've got to reach, somewhere we've got to get. And that is just not how I see it. I don't see it that way at all. And I don't even think it's worth talking about. It's all energy. Life is a thrill ride. It's a thrill ride. And that's beautiful and that's wonderful. And the more we can get down with that thrill ride, come what may, the more we can love, serve, and care, if that makes any sense, I suppose. Yeah, I don't even know if I'm answering the question. I'm just trying to point.
Henrik says, love that answer. So I think you answered the question for him.
I feel like I'm blabbering all over the place. That's so funny. Okay, no. Cool. But
yeah, so he said, love that answer. So it answered it for him. And I love what you said as well about there's no levels and stuff. And I remember I had a number of sessions with Chip Chipman, and I was asking him something where, I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a first generation 3 principles teacher who I really respected, and I loved what they said. And there was something that they said, and I was like, Chip, that doesn't resonate with me. I'm not sure, but like they I'd put them on a pedestal because they'd learned from Sid Banks and everything. And Chip just said to me, he goes, there's no one wiser than you.
Beautiful.
And it was so powerful for me because it just, and I felt like, that's what Sid was really pointing to.
Enough said. I can't beat that. I can't beat that. I tell you, the way I see the world of self-development is, here I am. I'm actually thinking about writing an article about this, but I'm going to use my phone here. So here I am, and I'm up here, and I know stuff, and I've gone through stuff, and I've overcome stuff, and I've become enlightened, whatever. And I want you to come to me, and I will teach you what I know. I know it better than you. Come to me, and maybe you can get up there with me. Okay. And sadly, I have to be honest with you, I see this in 3 principle community too. And again, I could be wrong. It's just how I see it. But right or wrong, if that's going on, it's a lie. It's a complete lie. We are all the same. Our job is to remind people that we're all the same. We, as Chip said, our grounding is the same. We are the same. No one knows better than you. And the more we can remind people of that, the better work you'll do, I can promise you. Cool stuff's going to start happening for your clients. I can promise you. The weight comes off their back right away. Okay. And what I obviously, when we point to commonalities, what we have in common, we look in the direction of truth. We can reach people. When we look to separate, like I know something you don't. I'm up here. I'm a superstar coach. That is, and I'm not even saying it's intentional. I'm just saying it's misunderstanding in action. You don't want to, in my opinion, we don't want to position ourselves as gurus, as experts, as whatever. We're simply fellow human beings who get caught up in the outside in illusion just like everyone else. And the more you do that, the more people will relate to you because it's genuine, it's real, it's love. End the story. What Chip said is perfect. There is no one wiser than you. Quite frankly, at the risk of business, I had Jamie and I did a workshop in London, and this lovely person was part of it, and I related to her, and I thought, oh my God, this she really is something. And then I see her run. I just kind of keep tabs on her because that's what I like to do with people that, my clients. And she's running here and she's running there, coming to America to go across the country. She's going to every training under the sun. So finally, she sends me a note. She goes, Garret, I get the idea that you're not happy with me. Now, I didn't say I wasn't happy with her, but she was kind of right. I got to be honest. So she goes, what is it? I said, stop running around. What did I say? Stop getting advice from people who know less than you. That's what I said. I think it was a Facebook message. What I really was saying is you are wisdom. Just go to work. Go to work. I haven't done everything right by any means, but one of the things that I just saw very clearly early on, you guys, was that, sure, I went to Seattle to look Connor and I sat with Keith. That was just a stroke of luck that he was available to meet with this knucklehead. This is so long, many, many years ago. And we struck up a friendship that has carried to this day, many years later. However, I go sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8 years without talking to Keith. Now, when I do see him and I do talk to him, it's like we were just together, yesterday. Such as a couple of weeks ago, we both spoke at a conference in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and then we spent the whole day and night together. And I didn't get out of there at 11 o'clock at night. We had dinner and all that. But I don't call Keith up. I don't go to seminar. I just work. I just go to work. And the more I know the direction I'm pointing, I know we're onto something, and I just go and work. I write. Sure. Still Power is a book I wrote many years ago. I got to be honest with you. I don't even like it anymore. I actually don't even want people to read it. But and even my newer book, I'm already past it. I've already seen some things that I wish I hadn't written in that book, but that's the nature of books, right? So we're always seeing it deeper, and we can always teach it better. But I just would encourage people, hey, there's nothing wrong with having a coach. That's all fun. I get that. But again, understand that coach's job is not to give you something. That coach's job is to remind you what you are, who you are. And I would just advise people to go out and go get it, go to work, and see where this crazy journey takes you. I just think that's just super important. So, if any questions about that, I'm happy to answer.
Well, you couldn't see me, I know. So people don't know, Garrett's on his iPad, so he can't see me. But I kind of punched the air when you started talking because I was like, this is so how I see it. I was interviewed last year by a non-3P coaching group, and they were interviewing me about being a coach and stuff. And I was talking away, and some guy in the audience said, it was kind of online. He said, so where's expertise though? Where's credibility and expertise? You're not talking about credibility and expertise here. You're missing that out. And I said, why on earth would I need to be an expert? I said, why on earth would I need to be an expert? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And you could see this guy kind of melt down. He was typing away, but I was really firm on it. You know, like you said, it distances us from clients. And I found this from my coach, Steve Chandler, who's not a three principles guy, but he's telling me all the time. He's like, look, you know, if you try and put yourself up on a pedestal, which we're not anyway, right? But if you try, you're just creating distance between you and the other person. So I see this both from a 3P point of view and also outside of the three principles as well. You know, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense from a business point of view. It's also not true, right? And I found that the more that I was just really honest about, I don't know, it was last year or the year before, some of my clients, I wrote something online and my clients went, oh, Ankush, you're human. And I was like, yeah, do you not see this? Like, okay, let me tell you how human I am. And the more I started talking about the stupid shit I do and how I get caught up and whatever else. And I remember you telling the story of your daughter saying to you, Dad, you need to read your book, right? Like, it's helpful for people to see that, you know, because it creates this misunderstanding that Jamie, me, you know, someone else, Keith, it's like, okay, you get to a certain level, you never get caught out, you're happy and wise all the time. Like, it's bullshit. It's not true. And that's not what's on offer. And also what I love you saying as well around coaching, you know, I've become more and more firm on this. And I didn't see this at the beginning. I didn't see this 4.5 years ago. I thought it was my job to give something to someone. But I've really come full circle on that now. And I say to clients, look, 100% of any change is on you. And that includes whether you hire me or not. That's your wisdom. And this may be at the risk of business to me. I don't care, but it's all on you. You are wise. You know what's best for you. I'm happy to talk to you. If it makes sense for us to work together, great. And if it doesn't, great. But I'm not going to give you anything. And this is on you. Now, if you want support, I can support you with that. But I don't want you to have any inkling, any misunderstanding that I'm going to give you something. I don't want you to be reliant on me at all, because that's not what coaching is about. That's not how I do my work. So I love that you said this, because it so resonates with how I see things too.
Well, I think, Bud, that I think it's on you to the extent. Well, let me think about this for a second, if it's okay. And I don't think you're saying this, but and I just want everybody, including you and me too, just to reflect on this for a second. And I don't think you're saying this, but let's just be clear. I don't think you're saying, or I'm saying, it's on you, as in the pressure's on, man. It's up to you, because that's just not true either.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
Yeah. What we're saying is, the wisdom is in you. In other words, you are connected. You are whole. You are connected to God. You're, you know, it doesn't, all this smoke and mirror stuff at the end of the day doesn't matter. I'll tell you a funny story that just popped into my head. I was one of these hockey players I work with. Maybe I told this story recently, but I'll tell it again. He had to wear they were wearing their third jersey. So some of these teams, they have a home jersey and away jersey, but it's in vogue to have a third special uniform for certain games. I don't know. And they were wearing they're wearing these jerseys this night. And they had to skate in the jerseys and the pregame skate that morning, the morning skate. Anyway, so the pants they were wearing, he's a goalie. The pants they were wearing were very uncomfortable. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, Jay, I got to ask your opinion on something." He goes, "We got to wear these friggin' pants, and I can't move in these pants. Like, I can't move in these pants. Like, I got to tell the coach that I'm just not wearing them." It's just like JR, same kind of story. So I said to him, "Bud, hang on a second. So you're going to be the only player on the team that's not wearing the pants?" He goes, "Yeah, but I'm the goalie. It's okay." You know, I'm like, no. Hang on a second. So you're telling me these pants are the problem? Oh yeah, these pants are a problem. So now, again, going back to what you were saying before about this, sounds like a moment to teach them inside out, but not on game day. My job is to get him connected, get him out of his head to the best that I can. And I said to him, "Look," I said, "someday you and me, we're going to be up in heaven. and we're going to laugh our asses off that you were worried about your friggin' hockey pants. And as a matter of fact, we're going to look down on all these poor souls down there worrying about this and that, this and that. And we're going to be like, can you imagine they're worried about stuff like hockey pants? So he starts laughing hysterically over this comment. And I start laughing too. And I said, hey, bud, have a good game. I got to go. Click. And I don't know. I think he stopped like 44 or 45 shots that night. And I had a great game. I was just lucky. But anyway, again, our job is to, I don't know, just connect, connect on a human level with people. Sometimes a player will say, I got a text message from a player and I was really up in my head. He was after a game and they were, I think, driving to the airport to go home. And he texted me, I was really up in my head. And I said to him, you know what? I had the same kind of day you did, man. Welcome to the club. For saying that, and I'm like, anytime, buddy, we're in this together. And that was the conversation. And it was just me reminding him that, hey, I had one of those. I don't remember if it was true or not. It may not even have been true. I don't remember. But it was my job to kind of help him see that we all get hung up. We all blame it on hockey pants. We all have bad nights, and we're all in this together. And the more we can do that, I really think, like, to be honest with you, buddy, like, I see some really cool stuff happening to some of the teams and the organizations and the players I work with. And I really chalk it up to just allowing life to just play out as it's supposed to play out. It's just super cool, because you almost, when you're trying to fix your thinking all the time, you almost don't notice it. You almost don't notice it. And as we've talked about in this call, it's not about pushing three principles or even pushing inside out on people. It's about connecting with people on a human level. And that's what helps people. That's what helps people, and that's what will help your business also.
We've got so many. Thanks for that. I love it. I'm aware of the time. We've had.
Don't worry, I'm good. I'll answer. It's not even 4:00 here. I'm alone in a hotel room here. I got nothing to do, so I'm good. Whatever people. Yeah, whatever you want to do, buddy.
So Promulus says, love this, thank you. Billy's saying, love that, keep it simple, enjoy the ride. Niels is saying, wow, this conversation is crazy good, little love heart. Promulus says, awesome, nail on head. I've only recently woke up to this. Nicholas said, misunderstanding in action, love this conversation. Billy said, how refreshingly honest. So Helen's got a question. Do you think there tends to be too much intellectual discussion on social media about, for example, form versus formless, preferences, free will, etc.? I think yes. I'm interested in what you think, Garret.
I don't see it that way. I don't know. As people may notice, like over the past 6 months, maybe a little bit more, I've never really been I have another Facebook page. Just, I don't know if people are interested in what I'm going to say, but I'll go for it. I have another Facebook page. It's kind of an author page, and that was always my main Facebook page. But you don't really interact with people, because they're just people that follow you because you wrote this book or that book. They're not people that really want to interact with you, if that makes any sense. So Facebook has never been something that I've really been into. Now I have this personal page, which is the page everybody reads my articles and stuff on, which, if you notice, I've just started putting more stuff on. And the reason for that, and I'll answer the question in a second, but the reason for that is I'm starting to think about legacy a little bit more. And I've been teaching and running and speaking and writing for many years, just kind of on my own. And I think that I really am starting to think about legacy and helping more coaches, as you can see. And that's why that's a fairly recent phenomenon. It's not that these articles haven't been written every week. They have been. I just haven't put them on Facebook like I have now, and I haven't made the same kind of comments. So as far as the discussion, and this is a personal opinion. This isn't truth, what I'm going to say right now. Where I think it gets sticky is, let's say you put out a post whether it's a article or just a quote or whatever. And then people on Facebook try to one-up you. Okay? To me, that's a bad practice. And again, that's just my opinion. In other words, leave it alone. If you support the author, or if you really think the author is totally off base, then you can ask a question there, but ask a question like, I never saw it that way. Can you, as opposed to saying, wham, I know more than you, you're wrong, kind of thing. And what I see is that's where it gets sticky on Facebook, on social media. So it's a bad practice, in my opinion, to try to one up someone else on their own post. Okay? That's not what it's for. So don't like it, don't comment on it, just let it go and do your own post. Now I'm good at, I do that. So if I see a post that I totally think is the wrong direction, again, just in principle, I may wait a couple days and then put something out that is totally contrary, if I think it's worth it. And if I think it's worth doing that. If not, I'll just let it go. I learned the lesson the hard way on Twitter. Now, in the UK, Twitter's not like it is here. I do a lot of social media stuff on Twitter. I've actually had a success with business on Twitter. And Twitter is very interactive, and you have to be super careful to not respond to the plethora of outside-in posts on Twitter. 99.999% of the posts on Twitter, as far as people that are in our space, are outside-in advice. It's brutal. Make sure you're in a good place before you go to Twitter, because you'll get outside in about inside out for sure. And you just got to write it out. You can't, we're not here to change the world. We're not here to change people. We're here to point in a direction and see who kind of wakes up to it, just like we did at one time. I've said it before. I was an incredibly outside-in coach, grind it out, push, as I said before, be on time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, until one day it all shifted. But I don't want to forget where I came from, because I came from that place. That's the way my father raised me. That's the way my coaches were. That's what I thought led to my success, until it didn't anymore. And again, what I see on social media is people who try to correct the author. That's like putting a review on Amazon and ripping a guy to shreds. Like, a guy just wrote a book, poured his heart and soul into a book, and you're going to write a 1-star review on Amazon. Well, okay, that's fine, but we don't have to buy into that mentality. We should be above that. And I just want to remind people that. As far as the discussions, I think a lot of cool discussions, like I put a post out there that a lot of people disagreed with, and then I saw somebody, she may even be on this call, someone then a couple of days later went right at me without using my name. It absolutely was. And I was cool with it. Like, I'm like, okay, that's cool. She didn't see she disagreed with what I was saying, and she has a different opinion that she thinks can be helpful to people, and she had out with it. That was a cool way to do it without attacking me on my own post. And to me, that was okay. Like, I totally was down with that. So yeah, I don't know. Like, and by the way, I wouldn't, sorry to ramble on about this one question, but I wouldn't worry about intellectual discussions. Like, there's this misunderstanding in my mind around this work about I'm just getting it intellectually, but I'm not really feeling it. Well, if you're getting it intellectually, that means you're feeling it. It's all one. It's all one. They're not separate. It's one. So intellectual discussions are important. They're important. And yeah, so I think it's kind of cool. I've got no beef with it. I think, as I said, where it gets a little bit off the rails is when we try to one up the author on these posts.
So last question, because I do have to go. It's getting quite late here. Piers says, given how dynamic thoughts are, printed words are a bad medium. More practically, be great to know if Garret has decided a format or method of condense or consolidating his wonderful latest insight on what he sees as books seem too slow.
Wait. Read the last sentence again. Books.
I think what Pierce Thurston.
Yeah, I know Pierce. Yeah.
He's basically saying, I think that our thoughts are so dynamic, words seem to be a bad medium. And have you found a way to consolidate your wonderful insights? Because he sees that books seem too slow a way to get that out into the world.
Yeah. No, I get that. Here's what I see. I was talking to somebody who hired me to coach him for a year. Again, this is relatively new for me. I just haven't really done much of that work, but over the last couple of years, I've started to do that, like you do. And it was probably 6 months. And when I coach someone like that, we speak every week, have a Skype call every week or a FaceTime call every week. And it was, I don't know, 5 or 6 months into this year, and he was kind of lamenting the fact that he didn't have a lot of clients yet. So I said to him, well, hang on a second. I said, did you hire me to get more clients, or did you hire me so we could look in this direction and kind of see where it takes us, so we can kind of go deeper, kind of inside out, outside in, keep walking in this direction. We're never going to get all the way there, but let's just keep going. And he said, oh no, I definitely hired you because I wanted to move in this direction. I thought it'd be really awesome to talk to you every week, but I still thought I would get more clients. So I said to him, well, let me ask you, how's your business? Like he has another job. He's actually a consultant. I said, how's your job? He goes, oh, I'm making really, really good money. Like I'm really doing well. I said, okay, cool. So how's the kids? Oh, they're great. Yeah, they're really coming along. Kids are doing great, really growing up. Okay. How's the relationship with your wife? Oh, yeah, never better. We just went on a second honeymoon to Spain. We had a great time. I said, well, what are you worried about? Like, what are we talking about? I said, there's something really, and Piers, I'm gonna answer the question now. There's something super special about relating to people on a human experience, a human level. And as you see it more and more, and you become understanding and loving, and it's just amazing that all these things around him were flourishing. So the answer to the question is just be you in the space you're in. Sid Banks wrote a book called The Enlightened Gardener for a reason. It wasn't the enlightened, famous, rich, motivational speaker. It was the enlightened gardener. And we just be you where you are and go out there and live. That's it. I admit it. I want to tell people I'm guilty of this sometimes. Like I get caught up in wanting to be on TV or wanting my books to be bestsellers or wanting all this stuff, but less and less. I'm quite hard. Like that's what you're here for. Like we said before, we're not here for happiness. We're not here to be happy. The way I see it is we're here to help people clear up misunderstanding. Where we are, right here in this hotel when I go down for dinner tonight, right with the people that I pass along the way, let alone my wife who I'll talk to before I go to sleep, etc. Sorry, that's what we're here for. And I'm telling you guys, like, be like, this is, if you have stumbled into this understanding, it's not an accident. It's not an accident. You're here, and with that comes, and this is just not even true, but it's just what's coming out, comes an obligation to kind of go out there and kind of have at it with people and really point people and live it and understand what people are going through and understand even what people on TV, like here with the presidential stuff in the States, like, I'm no better than that guy. I'm no better than that guy. I made the same bonehead outside in mistakes. And just because he's this doesn't mean he's not going to make them or whatever. Right. And start to see that, again, we've been pointed in this direction. We've stumbled onto it, not by accident. So you're seeing it. There's something about it that rings so true to you. How many people do we speak to, or how many people in the 47 years or whatever since Sid Banks saw something, how many people have come across this understanding and totally bailed on it? Most. We haven't, and that's not an accident. So be you, where you are, who you are, and don't the rest. I'm telling you, this life is short. It doesn't matter how many clients you have. It doesn't. None of that is important. What's important is simply being you, and the world will pick up on something. The other people at the right place and time will tune into it. Just go have at it, guys. Don't complicate the most simplest understanding known to mankind.
Pierce says, love it, simple, just live, ordinary and extraordinary at the same time.
No, that's crazy. Yeah.
Garret, you're really speaking the words of my heart. 100%. Everything that you're saying, I just so resonate with. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. I wish we could carry on for another hour or 2 or 3. I'm sure people would be loving it. This has been such a fantastic call. If people do want to get hold of you, if there's anything that they had a question they couldn't get answered, are you available for that? Is there a way they can get hold of you?
Yeah. So I suppose with my new Facebook, tendencies now, you can reach me on Facebook Messenger. My email address is just gkramer@innersports.com. You could always email me. It's on my site, garretkramer.com. But I encourage anyone who has a question about anything we covered tonight, or about anything, just reach out to me. I can promise you I'll get back to you, and I won't leave you hanging for long.
Thank you so much, Garret. Thank you to everyone else who's joined us tonight. It's been an excellent call, and I'll see the guys in the Facebook group.
All right, buddy. Love you. Thanks for having me. See you.